Hello, hello, it's Micaela, and I am happy to bring you another interview today on the Children's Book Marketing channel. This one is with a fellow author who has another something going on with her day to day that is so unique and that is so different from anything I'm doing. I felt it was important to share how she's helping because she's creating content not just for kids and enrichment and helping parents find things for their kids to do in the crafting space, but she's also working with other authors. Her name is Sheryl Smiley-Oliphant, and Sheryl has written two books. One is called My Daddy Doesn't Need a Cape, and the other one is called New Baby Coming, New Baby Here, both of which were inspired by the birth of her children. So, our interview today is going to cover a little bit about her story as an author, but really what I wanted her to share is how she can collaborate with other children's book authors. I am one of them. And what she's doing for me and what she's doing for other authors is creating content through her craft channel on YouTube, the Activity Author. So, the way this is working, Sheryl has a way of creating crafts that really give kids a good balance of left brain and right brain development. When I asked her to help me, it was during the time that I was running my Kickstarter campaign in December of 2020. And I created these backer levels for the campaign, one of which has an offer to anybody who purchases at that level, where they would receive a few crafts that would be father son activities. And because I had already become familiar with Sheryl through some of our connections on social media, and because we're in some of the same groups, I knew she was the perfect person for this backer campaign level. So when I started it, it was just okay, let's do a couple of them because the book illustrations hadn't been complete yet. Well, then I got some inspiration to do a lot more because I saw more of what she was capable of, and the illustrations started to come together. So, guess what? Cheryl's going to make a good bunch, and we're going to talk all about how we're going to work together, how she can work with you, also, if you're a children's book author, and what her inspiration is to just do something different in addition to writing and self publishing the books to take readers beyond the book. Check it out. And if you like what you are hearing, make sure you subscribe to the Children's Book Marketing channel. And also find Cheryl's channel, which is in the link below, the Activity Author, which is also here on YouTube.
Let's
Right.
do it.
So after all of the tech finally came together and we got to make this thing happen, we get to have an awesome interview. And this is going to be such an awesome interview because Sheryl is going to share some things that nobody else is able to share. I don't know anybody else who does exactly what you do with crafting. Now, there are lots of people on YouTube and across social media who do things with crafts, but not specifically with children's books and not specifically the way that you do it. So, I want to give you the freedom to share what you do with people so that they understand exactly how you're the activity author and how you might be able to give some creativity is just going to be unique. So let's get right into it, Sheryl.
Okay.
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up from Charleston, South Carolina. It's called Wadmalaw Island. So people think of it as Gullah Gullah Island because that's the home of the Gullah Geechee people like me. But yeah, that's what it's called. Wadmalaw Island, South Carolina. And it's in Charleston.
All right, now we're down here in the South, so we kind of are familiar with what the significance is of Gullah culture. Can you share with people who are not aware of what that means, just what that means for you having grown up down here in the South and where you grew up?
Um, I would say it's more connected to um places like Barbados in a way because we have our own dialect. We have our own culture, foods, things that we do. We live off the earth. Fishing. My dad had every boat imagined with crabbing, fishing, um, hunting, growing things in the fields in front of your house. Like we just had a very rural kind of way of looking at things. So if I had to put a title on it, I would just say it's more of a, people say we're mostly like the roots of, black culture, because we, the slaves were brought to Charleston when they, first arrived, and it was actually, they were sold right in the market, which is literally my front yard, in Charleston. So I feel like the culture there is so rich. I would say, people tell me all the time, especially when they talk to my mom, oh, you sound like you're from Barbados. So I always like link that to Geechee so people can understand, but it's really just an island of, people really just staying true to the culture. And we have our own dialect, which I lost because I'm a theater person, so I kind of got trained out of it, but it'll come back once I go home.
Totally understand that.
Mm-hmm.
You're growing up in South Carolina, and you find theater and education how exactly?
That's what I always ask myself every day, because when I went to college, I thought I was going to be an interior designer
Mm-hmm.
because I liked to, rearrange my room in, different ways. But come to find out, I went to A&T and I found out that they have a theater career and theater program. And I said, you know what? That may be for me, because I remember as a little girl, very small little girl, my favorite thing to do was get my Barbies and play with them and make them like theatrical productions. Like I would have Barbie as a starring role, and then Ken, and then it would be dramatic and drama. So my mom said it too. And I always kind of knew that I should be in entertainment, because I used to also take my karaoke machine, record songs off of the radio, and then when the actual DJ would come back on, I would mute them and take over the show. So it was basically, after I graduated, I always liked, teaching and, kids, but I always thought it was something I would do when I retire. I thought I would graduate, go live off in Broadway, and just, be an actress, starving artist type person. So that's what I thought. And then I came to Charlotte after I, um basically moved here after I graduated, because my mom lived here too. So I came here because she moved while I was still in college, and once I finished, I moved here with her for a little bit, and I started working at Children's Theater of Charlotte. And working there, I met a lot of teaching artists that did also teach with CMS, which is the school system that I'm with. And I started talking to them during the breaks, and they told me about a program that UNC Charlotte had, and I said, "Oh, that might not be bad. Check it out." Come to find out, it was right up my alley, and I decided, well, since they were taking, new applicants, because it was like the start of the new school system, I just applied and got in. And once I got in, I had 3 years, I think, I needed to take before I can get my master's in theater education. Once I did that, then it's history from there. That's kind of how I got into it.
All right. So, with what you became accustomed to in your day to day, working with kids and
Hmm.
using what you were really passionate about from what you studied around the theater,
Yes.
you write a book.
Yeah.
Where'd the book come from?
That's a good question too. It really did just come after I had my first daughter, and going to story times with her all the time. I never really thought I would write a book, but I always thought, oh, that'd be something cool to do. Because I just didn't know how to do it. I thought, oh, you had to go to school to be an author, and I majored in theater, so I can't do that. But I know how to write a play, So I basically taking her to story times all the time. I would always talk to the librarians afterwards and say, oh, I love this book and this and that, and I would pick their brains a little bit. And then the more I would talk to them, I started seeing in myself, like, you know what, this could be a reality. And then I started seeing some local books from local artists here in Charlotte. And I said, wow, that's not too far off from what I want to do. So then I basically took the year off after I had my second daughter. And what happened was, when I took the year off, of course, I was like, well, I started losing that want, that nurturing teaching side. Like I love being a new mom and staying home with her,
Mhm.
but I wanted to still be able to teach kids and reach kids.
Mhm.
So I just wrote, a children's book. And the first one I wrote was called Polly wants a pedicure. It was pretty funny. And it's basically about a parrot who works in a nail shop with their owners. I mean, they like the owners worked there, but the parrot was there in the nail shop with them, and she would watch them do nails and stuff like that. And then Polly actually wanted to get her nails done. It was a super cute book. And I just wrote it and left it on my computer and never did anything with it. Now, the thing that really put the fire behind me and made me publish my first book was when I had my second daughter in the car. And I delivered half of her. My husband delivered the other half
Yeah,
of
I thought you
her.
meant when you said had her in the car. You mean
Yeah, she
the
was born right there in the passenger side of the car in
the car?
front of the hospital. Yeah. So that's what told me. And my first book, My Daddy Doesn't Need a Cape, that's why I came up with that book, because after it was all said and done, we delivered her right there in at the drop off of the hospital, broad daylight, 10 o'clock a.m. on a Tuesday. He had this shirt on that said, Dad, because real superheroes don't wear capes. And right there, I've never forgot that. And that's where the title of my book, My Daddy Doesn't Need a Cape, came from.
Isn't that something? How life really
Yeah.
happens,
I know, right? There it is.
and how you formalized it in the context of a story that other kids can relate to. That is so.
Yeah.
I did not know that you delivered a baby in a car. That okay? So you are now the only prop mistress that I know.
Okay.
And you're probably the only person I know who's delivered a real baby in a car. You
Right. No medicine, no nothing. Just
two
raw.
unique, completely owned by Cheryl experiences. And that's the thing that I just I tip my hat to you because I don't know, I don't know that it's come up in any of our conversations leading to
I thought I told you. That's why I was surprised that you
now. No,
didn't know.
that is
Oh wow.
that is mind blowing in a way that I am genuine. You see this face?
Yeah.
Shot.
Oh wow.
Oh, well,
Yeah. Because I told myself if I could do that with no medicine or anything, I could do anything. So I was like, there's no excuse. And then I went in that hospital bed while they took her and cleaned her up. I'm on my
mhm.
phone typing my daddy doesn't need a cape in my phone.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I wrote it in the hospital bed.
good. That completely changes our perception of what's possible. Where, you go into it thinking, you don't want to do anything wrong because this is a tiny human. And you really want to make sure you know all of the things that we think we need to know before it happens. And then we just figure it out as we grow with the child. But
Mhm.
now some magical happens.
Mhm.
It's when things that used to seem impossible suddenly no longer do. And when things that we may have been very risk averse about just fall away. And instead of us being hesitant and saying, I probably shouldn't, it's like, well, why shouldn't I? The whole attitude just changes. So
Mhm.
that motherhood energy and the power of it to propel us into the things that we're doing. I know my life wouldn't be the same were it not for becoming somebody's mama. Yours clearly would not be because you would
No.
have had literally the book to write had it not been for that experience. Because
Yeah.
I'm really thrilled that we get to have this conversation because we connect on so many levels already anyway, that we're in some of the same Facebook groups and we're in the same Instagram group with children's book authors, and we always just have a lovely powwow. But one of the things that stood out to me when you and I were talking about what you do was that you create not just for bringing your own story to life, but for other authors and for kids who need an outlet to figure
Mhm.
out what else to do with this creativity that they have bottled up. And now is the perfect time for it because we're still living in a pandemic. Oh, how did you say, all right, this is even like, this is all this motherhood energy all bottled up during the 9 months, literally came out on the day the baby was born. You're writing a book,
Mhm.
you are self-publishing the book, got the
Mhm.
illustrations done, and then there's this pandemic that we suddenly become swept into, that says now these kids that were doing something during the day while you were at school with the kids that you teach, now they're in the house and they have
Mm.
to do. Tell me what went from I'm making this stuff for my kids to other kids need to figure out that there's something they can do as well.
Okay, yeah, I got you now. So I've always been doing I guess little crafts and stuff with kids when I taught at the YMCA or summer camps or Children's Theater of Charlotte. I used to I picked up a bunch of just little crafts because I always was really good. I had to work with art teachers, art and music teachers, because if you are teaching theater, they usually pair you up with a music person, a music teacher, and a art teacher. And what would happen is all three of us, we would work together and we would make a showcase by the end of the week to show the parents. So just working with art teachers closely for years, I just always picked up on little things that we would do. And we'd learn like little crafts and how to like dye coffee filters and use them as different things. So I just kind of picked those up, not really knowing that I was picking it up. I just was there and I was witnessing it and learning along with the kids and the art teachers. So when the pandemic hit, um, we couldn't go anywhere and do anything except, virtual things. So I would just my I think Kimberly was turning, she probably just turned 2 or was turning 2. And I can tell she really just missed socialization and just getting out and being with other kids. So I figured, okay, let me distract her and let's start doing things together. We'd, do like little experiments with I think one time we did baking soda and vinegar, and then I crafted her, or we made together a little wand. So we did like some we were doing some spells, and then I would put the vinegar in the little glass, and she would see it foam up, and she's like, "Oh, it's magic!" So then I'd see her like get excited about stuff like that, and I was like, "Okay, let's go a little further." So we started doing, some little crafting things, and then I started recording it on my personal Instagram channel and putting it on my stories. And one of my friends, really close friends that I taught with for a while back in the day, she would follow me and she'd look at my stories and she said, "This stuff is good. Like, why don't you like start a YouTube channel so you can like teach other kids and other parents how to do this stuff?" And then I was like, you know what? That's not a bad idea, because I was thinking about it, but I didn't think that this was something that people didn't do until she mentioned it. I was like, oh yeah, people really aren't doing this. So parents probably are going crazy with these kids right now, especially because they can't go to school, they can't go to camp, they can't go anywhere. So I took her advice, and I think it started out with me just doing that's when I joined TikTok, and I just started doing like little short TikTok um tutorials on how to do little things just to see if it could, it was getting a little steam and if people liked it. And then once I started seeing people liking it and sharing it, I was like, okay, well, let's go ahead and start this channel then, and see what's going to happen with this. I didn't know anything about starting a YouTube channel, but I said, let's go ahead and just start putting some videos out there. And my growth has been tremendous, because I go back now and look at my first videos. I was like, yeah. But now, after I've done it for a while, editing's getting better. I got a new mic, I got some equipment. It's growing, and it's going bigger than I ever thought. So right now 141 or 43 subscribers. That's pretty good for like
This
3 months. So yeah, thank you.
and that's not a lot of time, but you did something that a lot of people are under the impression there is more pressure to do. So whereas like you looked at TikTok as a way to test market your idea, anybody that's going to gravitate toward it. A lot of people get on TikTok, not that I'm on there for this reason. A lot of people get on TikTok and they think everything is instantly supposed to go viral. And
Yeah.
the minute you post a video, you're gonna get thousands and thousands and thousands of views. But the truth of the matter is, this
Mhm.
works. And even for those people who have accounts where the viral views catch on, a lot of them have already established who they are on TikTok and have some kind of a following. So that you approached it saying, all right, well, let me just put it out here and see, isn't what a lot of people go to TikTok for. A lot of people go to TikTok because they want to get famous overnight.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
So my journey with TikTok started only maybe 3 months ago.
Mhm.
I've been connected to people who have been rocking and rolling with TikTok for a year or more. And so, one thing that I think is important to do is figure out what your goals and what your intentions are. Because, I'm a content creator, so I think in that scope anyway. But
Mhm.
your goal was get on there, see if this thing has enough of an interest to other people, people who don't know you, people who never met you, and see if from what you get on TikTok, this is responsive enough to make you do more. Because it takes a lot of time to make videos on YouTube and perfect them after
Yeah.
them and post them and
Yeah,
circulate them. So that's a whole job right there. But
it
you're
is.
clear going into it. My objective was different. I just wanted to have fun.
Mhm.
Well, it's two reasons. I wanted to go in there and have fun because
Mhm.
it looked like a whole lot of fun to see the craft life come about and the behind the scenes on how things happen with things that I just am fascinated by, like resin art and creating tumblers to be customized and unique. And now I'm not that crazy about all of the dancing, but I'll watch it because
Me too.
I
Yeah.
do. So you get on TikTok, you find out that you are on to something big,
Yeah.
and then what? You start your YouTube channel. All right.
Yeah, I did start my YouTube channel a little after that.
Now, are you thinking at this time, this is how I'm going to further monetize my platform and my presence as an author? Or are you just operating in your zone of genius because you know you can?
A little bit of both. I always knew my end goal, honestly, is to own a children's network. So I never knew how I was going to get there because that's so far, not so far out of my comfort zone. Is only because I didn't do mass communication, so I don't really know television. I know stage and theater.
Mhm.
So I know that my end goal is to end up there. So once that friend put the bug in my ear about, starting the channel, I was like, you know what, this could be a step towards figuring out content to help kids learn. Because not only did I plan on having my channel just be crafting, I wanted it to be activities and games. Because really, my nickname before I became the activity author was the game connoisseur. My cousin gave me that name because every time somebody would have a baby shower or a bridal shower or something of that sort, they would call me and say, what activities can we do, what games can we do? And I remember the last before COVID hit, it was a baby shower and the theme was bumblebees, and I was like, bumblebees, that's kind of different. But then they were like, we need you to come up with some games, for the baby shower. And I was like, okay, what about we do a relay race where we have people have to go to 3 stations. One is you have to change the baby's diaper blindfolded. And then after you do that, you run to the next station and I had like one of those baby bottle pops. I don't know if you remember those with the little candy in the bottom. Yeah, so I had that. And then I was like, the next one you have to, with the blindfold still on, there'll be somebody assist you. You have to figure out how to dip the baby bottle pop in I think it's sugar stuff, whatever that stuff is on the bottom, and then taste it and figure out the flavor, and then run to the next thing and heat up the bottle. Like I had a lot of different quirky things, and people saw that and they were just like, "Yo, where did you find this game?" I was like, "I made it up."
That's
And then they were like, "Whoa, you should do this for a living." And I was like, "I should, because it's fun. I'd rather do this for a living, because it's more up my alley." Yeah. So I was always that person that always had the games and the activities for every function in the family. They would call me and say, "What are we doing? Entertain us. You got to be the entertainer." So that's kind of where I got the name activity author, because I always know activities and I'm an author. So
it's, and that is perfect for what's at the core of what you are really good at and
Right.
where you are in life right now, where you want to go ultimately. So kudos
Yeah.
for
Thanks.
creating the.
Yeah.
So you get this channel, you got some subscribers, of which I am one, of course, and then
Yay.
start
Thanks.
getting requests from authors like me who say, "All right, Sheryl, I know you're great at this. Have you thought about creating crafts for other people's books?" And you're like, "Yeah, I've done that." So I'm like, "Great." So how that all came about, just to give a little bit of the backstory, was me asking you if you could do something that I know is completely outside of my wheelhouse.
Mhm.
When I asked and you said yes, I was so delighted because what you do looks like a lot of work. And it's not a skill set that I possess to the extent that I want to create it in depth the way that I think my audience is really going to appreciate. So there is
Mhm.
definitely some synergy between what you do and what authors do in general. And I want you to give me a glance at what that looks like when you create. So, what you're creating day to day is a little bit different from what you'll create for authors, in that there are specifics that authors can give you where you don't kind of have to just sit around like, what should we do today?
Mhm.
Which is a great way to create, but you've got some more direction and some guidance. So you get an author who says, "Hey, Sheryl, can you create some crafts that are specific to my book? What do you need from us in order to make that happen?"
It's a good question. Really good question. Well, the first thing, of course, I need to read the book because I can actually base this off of a very recent experience because I actually have a book inspired craft coming out tomorrow. That one I'm doing a butterfly craft for her.
Yep.
So that came about because I read her book several times too. Actually, I have the ebook and everything. So reading if I don't know, some books inspire me on its own where I reach out to the author themselves and say, "Hey, I got an idea for your book." And they'll say, "Go for it." Others, if people want me to do it, the first thing I would love to do is just read the book first so I can kind of get a feel for the story. Then while I'm reading it, I'll read it first for enjoyment the first time. And then the second time I read it to just kind of see what can develop from it. So if there's a book about a kid who likes a toy train.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I kind of want to see why they like the toy train, and then that kind of stems because when I don't just make crafts where I'm like, okay, so it's a book, it has a train in it, let's make a train. It's more of I want to get kids to develop beyond the book, think outside the book. So if the kid likes a train, then I ask myself, okay, why does he like this train? What does the train do for him? Why is it useful? And then if I find out, okay, the kid in the book likes the train because they like to transport stuff,
Mm-hmm.
then now I have a whole lesson plan in my head where I'm thinking, okay, so this activity for this book will be us talking about transportation and how trains are essential to ground transportation, whereas an airplane may be essential to air transportation. So, from that, I would probably offer two crafts in that video where we teach parents how to make a train out of, I don't know, mini shoe boxes. You know, kids have small shoes, so you can probably put the shoe boxes together, maybe in like a three-tier train,
Mm-hmm.
and then talk about the weight of what you're putting in the train. So, are you going to transport pennies? Are you going to transport cotton balls? Is the train going to withstand all that weight? You know, things like that. And actually, I just did something with my daughter like that where I made her a wagon out of a adult shoebox and she was pulling it around the house and she kept saying, "Mommy, this spring is popping." I was like, "Well, what are you putting in there? Is it heavy?" And she's like, "I don't know." I said, "Well, that may be why the string is popping." So that's teaching her mass and, weight. So I always try to make the lessons bleed into other different avenues, meaning I try to connect it to other um, content areas in a way. So yeah, so going back off of that one with the train, I'll try to tie it in somehow with another genre of education, whether it's science
Mhm.
or math of some sort. Yeah, that's the teacher in me.
Book, you're making a butterfly activity, and that
Yes.
nature and that hints on beauty and just how every butterfly is different. Everybody who creates from this craft video that you put out is
Hmm.
come up with something different.
Hmm.
You skip from science and you go into what might be a little bit of STEM, where there's engineering focused and
Oh yeah.
physics in this for the little minds to absorb. So that's right brain thinking with the butterfly,
Hmm.
left
Yeah.
brain thinking,
Yeah, you got it.
the train. And I'm so glad you mentioned train because there's a train activity that we have to do, and I forgot all about it. So but that came about more from as early as when the Kickstarter ran. During the Kickstarter, when I created the backer levels, was when
Hmm.
I identified the need for there to be something related to activity. And because you and I had become acquainted around November time frame,
Hmm.
I had nothing but possibility in mind for what you could do with regard to how you market your activity author brand. But then when I decided to do the Kickstarter, which I want to say was like the end of November was when
It was, yeah.
that, and then I launched it the second week of December or something crazy that nobody ever is going to think would work. It and I was like, Sheryl, so I made this backer level where there's activities being given, and I really want to know if you can create these activities because I don't want to. I want to stay outside of that aspect. You live in that area. It's something that you're passionate about. You're great at. How would you feel about creating? Did you was like, yeah. So as the illustrations kept coming together, I created a list of things that made sense to associate with activities that kids could do that are crafty.
Hmm.
So I need to add trains to that list because Little Mr. Fix-It does have a train set.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
And the
That's gonna.
way the illustrator put the train set in there, she kind of mimics just like a house that any family would live in. And so what you
Mm-hmm.
have when you have kids in your house, you have random toys in every room.
Yeah,
And so
true.
there are a few scenes where she's got like in one scene there's a train set, in another scene there's the in our generation it would have been called the Hot Wheels,
I remember those.
but it's the Hot Wheels track. And
Yes.
so I came up with you creating crafts for at least 8, now 9, and I'm gonna share where that like one of them came from. Hold on, if I can do it the right way.
Okay.
See if me and the tech are gonna. All right, so on the screen there should be one of the illustrations that shows just one scene in the story where you and I talked about creating an activity. And in one of the flower pot scenes, this is one of the 2 flower pot scenes. This is actually going to be a full spread across 2 pages. So that's why you see this line in the middle right here.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But you've got the store owner who was one of the backer levels that somebody who participated in the campaign secured. That backer level of the campaign was to create some character in the book fashioned off of a person that you care about. And the person who selected this happens to be my sister. And I didn't even get a chance to really publicize that backer level much because the minute I told her about it, she wanted to do it. And she
Mhm.
made it our grandfather. So our grandfather is the store owner.
Oh.
These flower pots behind the store owner that welcome Mr. Jefferson and little Josiah, little Mr. Fix-It,
Mm-hmm.
are one of the activities that I asked you to create. So I was like, yes, let's do that. So there's literally a direct correlation between 8 different items that show up in the book that you will be entrusted to shine in all of your glory to
Yeah.
bring alive. Now, if somebody doesn't have, for instance, this Kickstarter backer thing that sparks that creativity, and they don't have a clue really that you are even capable of bringing their book to life, what would you tell that person who's got a book and they want to do more to give their audience the experience to further go into that story in ways that take them beyond the book?
Well, one of the first questions is asking them why they wrote the book, because the why is the most important part to me. Because if you wrote a book and your message is to spread awareness on metamorphoses, right? So you're talking about a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. um Knowing that makes it helpful to me because I kind of know which area to stem off of after I've figured out the craft. So I'll know, okay, yes, we're going to make a butterfly, but should we make a caterpillar too? Well, if we're trying to show metamorphosis, then yes, we do. So those are some questions I would ask the authors: why you wrote the book, what inspired you to write the book, and what do you really want your readers to know and learn from your book? So those are the 3 questions I would ask.
Okay.
And then from there, I would tell them, okay, now that I understand your book is about insects, you want to talk about metamorphosis, and you want them to get a sense of believing in themselves. Okay, so now we got a craft here. We got a whole lesson plan that we can put together that's fun for parents, easy for parents, things they can use around the house, and just fun doing. Because part of me loving, the reason why I love crafts, I love it more for the process of making it happen
Mhm.
versus more than the ending product. I mean, the ending product is great, but it's just the process is what I really, really love, I feel. So that's kind of what I would ask, of an author.
It's almost like you get to provide this additional layer of content to help
Yeah.
an author make their book interesting. And that's not something that I think a lot of people anticipate when they write their books. I think
Mm-hmm.
the notion is I'm going to write this book because it's in my heart, and kids need to see, or kids need to learn, or that area of enrichment needs some focus, and suddenly there's another book within the genre. Great.
Mm-hmm.
But I firmly believe that we have a position to take because we have parents counting on us. We are parents, but we also have parents who are looking to us for whatever the thing is that this book is going to provide. And sometimes that's entertainment, and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
growth and development from an emotional standpoint. But then in the case where it's able to be both, you enable us to make it part of both. And that's
Mm-hmm.
space to carve out for yourself. So I'm thrilled that we get a chance to work together in this regard. And
Yeah.
I know you're going to make a difference working with lots of other children's book authors who don't even know yet how to bring their book beyond the story, beyond the themes. But this is such great content. If somebody
Mm-hmm.
does this, where do you anticipate them using what you create? So in my case, I'm using them one way, but people might decide to use it in other ways. My way is I want people to use these activities on a weekly basis for a period of time and have fathers and sons do these crafts together. So, not to discredit the other parents that might
Mm-hmm.
be told, but because my book is written specifically around the love and the nurturing between a father and son, there's a component of this that it has to consistently go with the craft. But I'm sharing that in email newsletters. I'm sharing that in social media, primarily on Pinterest, because that's where the marketing for the book will live more squarely. So
Mm-hmm.
tell me what you would suggest In addition to that, how would you suggest authors use the crafts that you create for them?
Okay, yeah. So basically, so far, I've just had them share it with their audiences on their social media pages. But the dream is for them to do just kind of like what you said. I would rather, if they have a website, if the website where the book is, so it can show people the possibilities. Okay, you're not just getting a book, you're getting like basically a lesson plan with your book. And then newsletters a great way to share it out. Um, we said websites, social media, newsletters, just basically. Oh, and I'm hoping that it'll also stem into the schools and, of course, home as well. I think with teachers, they make lesson plans all the time, but as a teacher, we do respect that when things come with a lesson, it's easier on us because we know it works. We know it's been tried and true. So I'm looking for it also to go if the author does school visits, they can take these crafts with them to the classroom, share them with the teacher, and the kids will do them right then with the author. And it actually will help authors have a total package in a way. So when they're going to the school, they're not just doing a reading and leaving, they're leaving a piece of them with the teacher, with the librarian, the class. So I think that's the possibilities of where I see this going.
That's excellent alignment with author branding.
Hmm.
All of those contexts that you just mentioned, there's a degree of consistency that has to show up. And
Hmm.
when an author can be recognized as someone who brings more than just the story, they not only get, you know, that preferential place in the minds of whoever's invited them, they get invited back. So you got to keep creating this stuff. You
Yeah, definitely. I don't plan on stopping. No.
gotta keep creating this stuff because at
Yeah.
no point do I want to try to figure out how you position the camera and how many different takes because you're at the theater, so you get, you know,
Yeah.
I don't have that skill set. And I'm so glad that you do. And I also think it's important to encourage people. This is one area that somebody else might gravitate toward. And there's not a sense that there isn't enough opportunity out there for all of us, but you already have the formula to make it work. You
Hmm.
already
Hmm.
have something that is operable and is helping to change lives in a significant way. I don't feel compelled to intercede in a way that says I need to do the same thing. Everybody can find their own way to do it. And I don't know too many people who are
Yeah.
do it the way that you do. Who say, I have a background in theater, and then I became a teacher. This is a natural progression of what happened.
Yeah, it is actually. When you say it like that, I just thought about that. I was like, wow, it is like a metamorphosis.
Yeah,
Since we're using that word.
the complimentary. I mean, it was a perfect selection of words for you because when you said metamorphosis, I was like, where did she pull these out from?
That's what I was just thinking about with that book and the butterfly and the caterpillar. I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
it's,
there we
it's
go.
definitely a part of who you are
It
and who you
is.
are right now. So I just want to applaud you and encourage
Thank
other authors who've written children's books to seek Sheryl out. If you want to replicate it, she's a good person to study, but find your own way to be able to just use your voice and use your skills and use your talent and develop something around that will help not just your readers, but also help make that book buying, book reading, book authoring, and publishing experience more what you envision for it to be.
you. Hmm.
Sheryl, when people want to find you, I'm going to put the activity author up here. Let me see if I can get the tech to cooperate. All right, we're going to go www. Where are we going to find you?
Sheryl S. Oliphant, Oliphant.com.
All right. So I'm putting
There it
it right now.
is.
So everybody knows where to find you. And on YouTube, if they go to your website, of course, they will find your links to your YouTube channel there. But on YouTube,
Hmm.
Cheryl is
Yeah.
activity author because I tell you, we look for things to do here in this homeschool house.
Yeah. I feel
Whenever
you.
I see that you've dropped a new video, I'm like, praise God. Because I'm running out of creativity. What did we make the other day? We made
The jellyfish.
we
I
made
think
a
I saw.
jellyfish, but like yesterday, Mason was wearing a Captain America t-shirt. So what do I think? Well, let's just make Captain America's shield. How do we do
Oh,
it's just like off the top of my head. I didn't even
I
think
love.
about it when I put his clothes on in the daytime, but here it is. You've got something. I'm like, thank goodness, because I'm out of steam. Okay, I can't think of anything else.
I love it.
All right, cool. Well, I will
Captain.
make sure all of your links are visible below, clickable, and can take people to the right place for them to reach out to you. I'm so glad we got a chance to hold this.
Yeah, me too. Me too. This was fun. Definitely fun.
Yeah, when the next round of crafts comes out, they will go straight to your YouTube channel. But anybody who subscribes to the activity author channel will get immediate notification of when the new stuff hits. So thanks for joining tonight, and
Thank you for having me.
thank you so much for being here, Cheryl. We'll have to do this again after the
Oh,
Fix It Assists with the To-Do List crafts come out, and then
oh yeah.
we can talk about all of the different ways that I'm marketing the content you provide to my audience through my content strategy. So that'll be a lesson for everybody.
Nice. I love it.
All right, cool.